In this episode of the Vazquez Report, we're going to see how they politicize the Texas floods. And is there an Epstein cover-up? All this and more in this episode of the Vazquez Report. And it happens right now.
I mean, since when is death not more important than your politics? Even if you think policy, decisions, rhetoric, leaders had something to do with the outcome, why does it become tantamount to that outcome? Democratic Senator Chris Murphy, I've been trying to get him on the show. Now I don't want him. Accurate weather forecasting helps avoid fatal disasters. That's what you say? There are consequences to attacking meteorologists? You really believe that that's what this was about? You really think that's what your constituents want? For you to take a cheap shot at dead kids to score points against Trump? Wow.
Let's start today with the Texas floods, where over 100 people unfortunately lost their lives. The Democrats are taking this and trying to politicize it. Instead of being humane and saying their thoughts and prayers go out to the families who lost their lives, they'd rather use this to see any reason to detriment or to talk crap about Trump and the Trump administration. It's sickening. And it's something that shows the dark side of the Democratic Party. Let's see just how they try to politicize the Texas floods. You make up your own mind on how you feel about it.
Adding to all of that chaos, all of that concern is politics and the rampant disinformation that's being peddled by Donald Trump and some Republicans, politicizing a natural disaster, what FEMA is warning about. There's been so much doubt sown into it that people no longer trust, the NBC Newses, the MSNBCs, et cetera, of the world. There are also questions about cuts to critical systems like the National Weather Service, which handles forecasting. Did those cuts hurt the response time or the ability of officials to coordinate? I wonder if this is going to make the administration rethink the cuts and whether they want to bulk up now and find better ways to map out and predict these storms as they're changing. I mean, they do happen. They are bigger, but we can find a way to start trying to track them and predict them if the money is given to these agencies for research to try to figure this out to get ahead of it.
It's essential for all New Yorkers who need to be protected against extreme weather like flooding, who need the warning, which obviously didn't occur in Texas, that bad, dangerous weather is coming.
Many are pointing to the National Weather Service cuts as a reason why some areas were taken by surprise. But this meteorologist cautions about jumping to that or any conclusion yet.
People have been speculating that National Weather Service budget cuts prevented staffing. Typical staffing at a Weather Service forecast office is like 2 to 3 meteorologists. There were 5 there at the time the warnings were issued, so that was not a factor.
Now let's look at the other side. The Democrats have been called out for their rhetoric and basically their inhumane take on the Texas floods, trying to politicize it and point fingers at the Trump administration or the Texas governor because they're on that side. Let's see how the people on the right are calling out the people on the left for their inhumane rhetoric and action.
Beautiful bill that absolutely would have helped people in their states. Can't they come together? What is it that just blocks out all sunshine and compassion for Democrats when President Trump, thank God, is in office?
And I think it shows that Trump derangement syndrome is real. When you take such a tragedy and a terrible moment like this and you don't want to do anything but turn it into something for your own political gain. My daughter is at camp right now. And I know that there are parents out there that are counting down the days until they pick up their child. And there are also parents that are clinging to the fact that they have another day with their child. And we've got to be human beings, Kellyanne. Not everything has to be political.
It's ridiculous how much finger pointing goes on. Something I wouldn't do. I would blame bad policies and bad reaction more than anything. Bad reaction to the aftermath of an event. Sir, thank you for being here. What do you make of these people just pointing fingers at anyone and everyone, especially the president?
100% blaming Trump for this is the most ridiculous thing. After Hurricane Helene, Joe Biden's administration was the most pitiful response time. And if you remember, after Trump got in, those poor people up in North Carolina. Trump made the Army Corps of Engineers go back up there, and they finally got things working up there again. But yeah, blaming this on Trump is the most pathetic thing that you can imagine. Schumer's grabbing at straws. I saw an editorial this weekend that the Democrats, and this is a left-wing publication, was saying it. They better jump. They better abandon Schumer. He is a lost cause, and he's hurting the party. And AOC probably is the future of the Democrat Party, which tells you they're Marxists.
To the politicians, it'll never be okay to politicize when people lose their lives. It'll never be okay to point fingers instead of coming up with solutions for the American people. It will never be okay for you to blame or point the finger at a rival administration or a rival party in order to score points with your base. Show some humanity and show that you care about the American people, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. Shame on you. Now that we've discussed the Texas floods, stick around to the end of the episode where we discuss the Epstein debacle that's happened after Trump interrupted Pam Bondi when she was asked about the Epstein files. More on that later. The Epstein debacle that's happened after Trump interrupted Pam Bondi when she was asked about the Epstein files. More on that later. And then what's worse than that is that there seems to be a contingent of people who care more about race than the actual people who died or lost their lives in the floods. It's getting to be sickening, and I don't understand where people's humanity is at this point. Like, you care more about what side of the aisle they're on or what race they are rather than the fact that they died in the first place. Make sense of it, because honestly, in my heart, I can't see anything like that being funny or being something that is okay to make fun of. Here goes as an example of this race baiting from the Officer Tatum show. I want you to make up your own mind on how you feel about this one also.
You are the scum of the earth.
Dumb little girls, them people died because of racism, not politics. Boom, I said it. I don't give a fuck.
Can you believe this?
And I said no. No. Because more YT people will have to DIE in order for to what CARE. I don't give a f.
Can you
Minds are
believe
here
this?
with me. We voted the correct way. You reap what the f you sow. Just the night before the flash flood happened, y'all were okay with being stripped away from their families and never seeing them again. People being deported. Y'all were okay with that. Be okay with not finding Sarah Lou. Be okay with not finding Billy. Be okay with never seeing them again.
How do human beings exist like this? I don't get it. The amount of racism and hatred and evilness that you will never see a white person do on TV. You will never see a white person get on a platform and say, I don't care about them black kids. That's what they get. I mean, a lot of times, black people be doing stuff to themselves. This was a natural disaster. It like kind of hurt me a little bit to hear this woman talk this poorly about innocent children that have nothing to do with the stupidity that she's talking about.
The bottom line is it'll never be okay to politicize when people die. Whether it happens to people on the left or the right, or they're white or they're black or they're purple or they're orange or they're fuchsia, it doesn't matter. If they die as a result of what happened and it's a tragedy that affects hundreds of people, it's never okay to politicize it and make fun of it, regardless of the circumstances. That's the bottom line. After the long string of wins from the Trump administration, you would have thought that they would have put this whole Epstein case on the back burner, or at least announced something when they had something. But no, instead of doing that, they put a wet blanket on the whole string of victories when it comes to the Trump administration by announcing that there was no client list in a joint memo by the DOJ and the FBI. This pretty much angered all of his base, including the MAGAs who won't let this go. For more on the story, let's listen to Ben Johnson and his take on the whole cover-up, it seems, by the DOJ and the FBI.
Kash Patel, on our program, though, went viral for talking about the Epstein list and what he was going to do, what should happen to the people on that list. So let's watch the clip. I just want to establish here that we've been working on this for a long time, and like a bulldog with a bone, we are not going to let up now. Here we go. Are you, like, in closing here, I want to just be very clear. Republicans could get Epstein's list out now? Like, how would that process work?
Simple. One subpoena to the FBI. Give me the list. Oh, you don't want to give me the list and you're going to break the law and commit contempt of Congress? We're going to take your money. We're going to take Chris Wray's private jet. taxpayer-funded G5 rides across the country to his Appalachian State vacation home down to Georgia and all over the rest of the place. That guy doesn't need a G5 government-funded jet. And the second you take that money, you get Epstein's list.
Here's the problem, Kash, is that they shut down the Lolita Express. So how are these guys going to fly on a private jet anymore? I mean, it's really a quandary, my friend.
Oh, man. I love it.
Hey, what's up, guys? Here's my take on the Epstein drama and PR nightmare over the last 24 hours for the Trump administration. It's a crisis. There's a crisis. And it's a tough crisis because something is horribly wrong here. For months, we heard that the Epstein list was sitting on the desk of officials like Pam Bondi, that there was mountains of evidence, truckloads of evidence, in fact, that had been brought into the DOJ for review. And we know, as a matter of fact, a couple of things here. One, that there is literally truckloads of evidence. We have the photos to prove it. You can see here. Here's, for instance, a photo of Epstein's safe inside of his mansion when the feds raided it. In that manila envelope is a pile of passports. Some of them include different names for Jeffrey Epstein on them. What countries were they from? In there, that box, that's a box of diamonds. Where do diamonds come from? Where are they now? These are very strange things. Here's a photo of hard drives. Piles of hard drives that were wrapped with evidence tape on them. Not by the feds. According to the FBI special agent in charge, who was in charge of the raid, Epstein put the evidence tape on those hard drives. So we know that there are voluminous mountains of evidence that we haven't seen as the American people. And yet the feds came out with a massive whitewash of all of this and released it to liberal media. It almost as an insult to everybody who's been following this story, and they just don't know the time. That's my take. They don't understand what time it is. They thought that they could just like brush this under the rug and that people don't care. People do care. We care if our nation is run by a predator cult. That's important to know. And are those predators given free passes? Epstein certainly was. And so it's wild. It is blowing up. It is a nightmare. Truly. And I'm a massive fan of the Trump administration. A lot of these people are my friends. This one was wrong. They got this wrong.
The Department of Justice had an opportunity to put water on this thing a long time ago from the start of the administration by saying that basically nothing would happen with the Epstein case. But instead, there was a bunch of lofty promises on Fox News, and the paperwork is on my desk, and it's being ready to be reviewed. And we have truckloads coming from the Southern District of New York, and amongst other things that were claimed when this whole thing came out. For more on the story, let's look at how Tucker Carlson and a guest, a researcher, basically looked into the whole Epstein case and found some inconsistencies. They have a theory on why the DOJ and the FBI are saying that there was no client list. Let's listen to their theory here.
Tucker Carlson drops a massive interview on Pam Bondi and the Justice Department covering up Jeffrey Epstein's crime and murder. Sagar Enjeti has a theory. The whole thing has already got millions of views here on X. We watched it, and we plucked out that we want you to hear. That we want you, ladies and gentlemen, Tucker Carlson, of course. The reason why we listen so closely is because he's done some of the most profound reporting on this. Interviewed Mark Epstein, interviewed the Bureau of Prisons and the people who did the autopsy and so on of Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody has actually gone deeper down the rabbit hole than Tucker Carlson, given his platform at Fox News when he was doing a ton of this reporting. And so Tucker knows what the hell he's talking about. And so here's Tucker's theory as to why the cover-up is happening. Here we go.
People have followed it for years. The president promised to reveal the truth about this. Pam Bondi, as you said, went on television, said we have the truth and we're going to give it to you.
Yes.
I think this is a big deal. It's a really big deal. It's bigger. So. I hope so too, actually. So let's just assess this logically. They're covering up the DOJ, the current DOJ under Pam Bondi is covering up crimes. Very serious crimes by their own description. Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
So there are really only two potential explanations that I can think of. Maybe you've got another. The first is that Trump is involved, that Trump is on the list. They've got tape of Trump doing something awful. I don't believe that for two reasons. One, I've talked to Trump about it a lot. And I know him. He's not that, for whatever his sins. I don't think he's that guy, actually. I don't think he likes creepy sex stuff. That's just my view. But more, I think, convincing is that this is all information that the Biden administration had. And if there was evidence that Trump had been involved in illegal sexual activity, you think the people who made up Russiagate wouldn't have leaked it? Right. Come on now. So the only other explanation that I can think of, again, maybe you've got another, is that intel services are at the very center of this story, U.S. and Israeli, and they're being protected. I think that seems like the most plausible.
That's the most obvious. I have a history of this. There have been multiple documented cases of pedophilia inside of the CIA perpetrated by CIA officers, documented that in many of those cases, I believe over a dozen cases, this was a BuzzFeed news piece years back, where the CIA specifically did not want to prosecute those individuals in federal court for fear that they would reveal sources and methods if they were pulled into open court. And they basically just made it go away. The only time they actually prosecuted somebody for child pornography was whenever he'd already being prosecuted for mishandling classified information.
Well, when they want to crush you, they put kiddie porn in your computer. It's why I don't have a computer. Don't own one.
If you're an important person, you should be careful.
No computer in my house.
This is.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the article that was referenced there. Secret CIA files say staffers committed sex crimes involving children. Declassified CIA Inspector General report shows pattern of abuse. Repeated decisions by federal prosecutors to not hold agency personnel accountable. Over the past 14 years, Central Intelligence Agency has secretly amassed a credible evidence that at least 10 of its employees and contractors committed sex crimes involving children.
Fiery rebuke of the whole Epstein case and its handling by the Department of Justice and the FBI. Let's hear the Benny Show. And let's hear the anger in his voice, and rightfully so, from the Republican Party and from supporters of Trump on their handling of the whole Epstein case.
Now, what needs to happen, and I'll tell you, how do you fix this, right? You don't fix this by lecturing to us, don't worry, bro, we looked into it and it's good. That doesn't work anymore. You've atomized the faith of the intelligence community, the FBI, and the DOJ. It's gone. It hovers around 0% for the American people. The way that it works is the way that Tulsi did it. Tulsi just released all of the documents, all of the evidence. And we don't need any more abuse materials. We don't need like grotesque stuff that like re-victimizes young women. We don't need that. What we need is what they did with the JFK. What they did with JFK is just release all of it, right? Here's hundreds of thousands of pages. Some of that stuff is really interesting. Most of it's kind of boring, but you're going to see it because we trust you, the American people. That's how you reestablish trust in a relationship with anyone. You have to release it all. That's the only way out. This isn't going away. People are going to ask questions about this till the end of time. This will be an issue in 2032. This will be an issue in 2040. This will never go away. It's better to just get out in front of it and prove that you're not covering up anything. We know the evidence exists. We know there's all this stuff that we don't understand about this operation. And the more you try and cover it up, the more you look guilty or that you're protecting pederasts. You don't want that look. So the best way to eliminate that is to be done with the cover-up and to say, yeah, of course he had clients. And of course there was a massive operation here. That's why Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison. She's not in prison for nothing. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself for nothing. Right? He's an innocent man that kills himself, right? Okay, got it. The whole story is such a nightmare.
This is the problem with over-promising and under-delivering. You say all these lofty things on all these news networks, and then on the Benny Show, back before you became FBI director, and now, when it comes time to actually provide the evidence, the FBI and the DOJ say that there's no Epstein client list. Don't overpromise and underdeliver, especially to the MAGA base, the people that got you elected and the people that support the Trump administration and his picks for this cabinet. The people are not stupid. You can't say one thing and then promise to actually fulfill it and then have nothing actually happen. The people won't let this go, and until you resolve it the right way and release everything, it's never going to go away. That's the bottom line. How do you feel about the timing of the announcement by the FBI and the DOJ regarding the Epstein client list? And as always, take the information from this episode and make up your own mind about things. This has been the Vazquez Report.